Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. I'm so excited to be here to introduce you to our new Chief Product Officer, Todd. Just a few housekeeping items really quickly. Uh, we will have the ability to answer some questions towards the end, so feel free to engage with us in the comment section. And here we are with Todd. Todd, I'd love to have you introduce yourself and get started with our live chat.
Well, thanks, Adriana. It's great to be here, and thanks everyone for joining. So, my name is Todd Boes. As Adriana mentioned, I'm the new Chief Product Officer at Snowplow. I'm based in Boston, Massachusetts. Really excited to speak and talk about things at Snowplow today.
Thanks so much, Todd. Yeah, so maybe you can share a little bit about how your journey started. What led you to Snowplow? Why'd you come over to Snowplow?
Yeah. Well, it's been a long journey. So I'm an old timer. I've been around for in this industry for about 30 years. And ironically, my journey started almost where I'm at today, which is in the database space, in the data world. So my first tech company was actually acquired by one of the early pioneers in the relational database space called Sybase. And back then, it kind of reminds me of the Databricks Snowflake wars of today. But it was really, there was four players in that space: Oracle, Microsoft, IBM, and Sybase. And it was a really interesting time. It was a time of kind of the shift from mainframe computers to PC, and what was called the client server architecture. And so I had a front row seat in the relational database space, in the data warehousing space, and had some opportunities to work on product lines that were really early in the data warehouse space. So that was super exciting. And then from there, I caught some other big major kind of tectonic shifts. We had the web and the internet kind of coming onto the scene. And I went to a fledgling startup, a company called Alaire in the Boston area, that was a pioneer in the web development space. And the company grew, and we had some great products like Cold Fusion and JRun, but it was all about web application development. Again, data-driven applications, but on the web. And then we were acquired by another really cool company called Macromedia, probably most notably known for products like Flash, Dreamweaver, Director. Those were really, pioneering technologies in the web space. So that was fantastic. And then I kind of took a pause from kind of the data world in the development space, and went to another startup company in another emerging kind of technology area called video streaming. And this was really in the early days of online video. And it's a great startup company called Maven Networks. And again, this was before an industry really existed. So we were creating a new industry here with internet television. And fortunately, we kind of hit that wave nicely, and we were acquired by Yahoo. And I spent 4 years at Yahoo running their video advertising tech platform and technology. So that was great. But really, the last couple of companies have brought me back into data, building data platforms and reacquainting myself with all of the new technologies that kind of came onto the scene post my Sybase experience, building data pipelines, data analytic platforms and stuff. So here I am back at Snowplow in just an incredible time with everything that's going on with AI and all of the advancements. So, I like to find these big kind of tectonic shifts, and they don't happen often. And fortunately, I've been lucky to hit a few of them. And stepping back, I just, I was looking around saying, well, where do I want to be? Here's another tectonic shift happening with AI. and it led me directly to Snowplow. It was an easy decision, and everything that Snowplow is doing from a data perspective is so exciting, and it's really going to fuel this next growth of AI. So that's been my long journey to Snowplow.
Well, we hope that this is going to be the most exciting part of your journey. Let's put it that way, Todd.
Yeah, well, it certainly has, and my first 90 days has been incredibly exciting.
And you've hit your ground, you've hit the ground running. So we're really excited to have you here, and over the course of your journey, you've led several teams, right? What are some of the leading principles that you've taken along your journey and that you plan to implement here at Snowplow that you think will make a big impact?
Yeah, that's a great question, Adriana. Every company I go to, actually, what I try to do in my first week is introduce something that has been very changing and instrumental in my experience, which are what I call product principles. And we use product principles in product organizations to really shape our thinking and our prioritizations, in our decision making. We in product have to make decisions on a daily basis. And we often look for crutches and things to help us make those, good educated decisions and sound decisions. So I really like to bring in on the first week to the product organizations these product principles. And product principles can range anywhere between 3 to 7 different types of principles. And I really let the team formulate those principles, and I'll lay breadcrumbs and from past companies. But one thing I insist is that the first product principle always revolves around the customer. And here at Snowplow, we've already implemented, it's called customer obsession. And that really states that, we as product people are obsessed with solving customer problems. They are our number one focus. And so that has led to some really good decisions and success in my career by staying centered and focused on customer needs, understanding their problems, understanding their customer struggles. And when you do that as an organization, that tends to help you make some really good, sound decisions.
Yeah, and I would say that, in terms of customer centricity, we've talked about this before, like as in a variety of our webinars and LinkedIn Lives, but that's where we learn the most from, is like having these conversations, these open and honest conversations with our customers. And they're the ones that are at the forefront of this. They're the ones that are doing all of the great implementations and use cases of the product. So, and from my perspective, I secretly love to hear some of the cool things that they're doing with the product. So it's really great. But you did talk about decisions at the beginning of that, and obviously there's ones that go well, and then there's ones that don't. What are some of the most, or maybe one of the most difficult product decisions you've had to make, and how did that go? What happened there?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when people ask me about, product and what is product management, what do you do? And it really is. What I'm 6 hours into my day here, and I probably already made 5 decisions today. That's exactly what we do. But in terms of the hardest decision, I would probably point to my days. I mentioned that the internet television video streaming company, Maven Networks. Now this was early 2000s, and you got to understand back then, it was almost inconceivable to watch video on your computer because of bandwidth issues, right? And but we had a vision. We really believed that the future was that consumers were going to want to consume content on demand and on devices like laptops and computers. And I'll never forget coming home with a prototype on a laptop, all excited, and I showed my wife, and she looked at it and she said, well, that's the dumbest idea I've ever seen. Like, who would want to watch video on a computer? And I'm like, oh my gosh, did I just make the biggest mistake of my life? What's going on here? But
now look at us, right?
yeah, exactly. I let her know that every single day. But but honestly, there were some really big decisions that we had to make. In our original architecture, because of the challenges with high speed bandwidth, we architected a platform that was revolved around downloading the video in the background and then playing it in a high definition, high quality manner. And we did that because of the limitations, and that makes sense. But we also could see the future, and we could see some of the advancements in the speediness of bandwidth. And you also had companies like Akamai coming onto the scenes, starting to solve this with their content delivery networks. And I made a really controversial call at the time, which was, we need to invest in the streaming side of this platform and not the download. This is not going to be a problem. I didn't know how long it was going to take, but it was very controversial at the time, and it was almost a bet my job on this decision. And fortunately, the CEO and the board had faith and confidence in it. But boy, if it was the wrong decision, I was out of there. That was for sure. And fortunately, the speed started to come to fruition, and it was the right decision, and we hit the wave perfectly. Like I said, companies like Akamai were starting to solve the problem, and streaming became a formidable way of consuming video. Yes, you still had buffering issues, but it was good. So that was a really tough decision, and that decision was based on, I think it was Wayne Gretzky who coined the phrase, skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it currently is. And that's exactly what we had to do. And we made a bet, and the timing worked. So yes, that always stays with my mind.
I love that. Yeah. Well, thankfully we're away from the days of hearing, the connecting of internet, and the, from trying to connect and stuff like that. And we're in the streaming days. I much prefer that. But as we look to the future, we're Snowplow, we want to stay ahead of the trends. We're innovating. We're trying to be a leader in the space and innovate in the data space. How do you plan to stay on top of those trends and ensure that Snowplow stays as the leader and continues along in innovation?
Yeah, well, I'll go back to that product principle number one, customer obsession, and it does start with the customer. And boy, do I try to carve out time in my day to speak directly with customers, or indirectly, even listening in on gong calls and recorded sessions, whether it's a customer success manager or a salesperson with a prospect. I try to start my morning.
Was it you that said like coffee in the morning or something for an hour?
Coffee in the morning. Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I do, and I enjoy
During
it.
our all hands, yeah. I think you had said like, do the coffee in the morning and spend an hour listening to customers. So
yeah, I definitely try to make a habit of that, and it's invaluable. So that's first and foremost, and you can garner a lot by just listening to these conversations and asking customer questions. Now, the challenge becomes when customers don't know they have a problem, or it's a future thing. And those are harder to predict and harder to stay on top of. It is important to track and listen to industry podcasts and things that your competitors are doing and your partners. You can glean a lot of information from there, but it is important to spot those trends. And again, I've been fortunate to have lived through a number of these kind of trendy technology shifts, and when I see something that looks familiar, it resonates up here, and I'm like, I think I've seen this before. And what is the outcome? So that certainly helps, having lived through some of this stuff, but it requires a lot of time, starting with the customer, keeping up on industry trends through trade shows and podcasts, and getting out and meeting folks and understanding what they're doing and what their customer struggles. That's how you do it.
Yeah. And I have to say, like, there's definitely that list of, podcasts, Reddits, things of that nature that I'm always paying attention to try to stay up to date. So, there's with all of these trends and stuff, there's obviously things that tend to stand out and you're like, oh, I'm excited about that, or things that are coming up that, kind of get you all excited and excited to do your job every day. What
Yeah.
are some of those trends that you're seeing or something that's sticking out to you in the space today that you're really excited about?
Oh gosh, yeah. This we're fortunate. We're in an industry that is just so exciting and exploding in innovation. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I see a new startup or a new company doing something really interesting in our space. And prior to coming to Snowplow, I spent a lot of time researching the industry. Um, and while certain things haven't changed, I mean, relational databases are, guess what? They're still here. SQL's still here. It's all great. But there's been a lot of exciting changes. I look at things, in terms of open table formats and data lakes, their ability now to handle different types of data from, structured to semi-structured to unstructured. Um, Speaking of unstructured data, multimodal data, it's becoming possible now to process all of this data that, prior to this, you couldn't conceive of,
Yeah.
capturing and processing all of the documents and all of the, the audio and the video content that sits in companies, systems. So multimodal data and capturing information from that is super exciting. Real-time streaming, the real-time nature, our uh, you know, customers and consumers expect real-time personalization, real-time responses. So moving data real time now is certainly a big need and made capable and a reality from a lot of the technology that's in the market today. Hyper personalization is just going to continue to get better and better. So that's really exciting. The other areas that have really excited me is seeing the advancements in some of the knowledge graph vendors that are out there. Companies like Neo, they've been around for a while, but they're really advancing their technologies now, and that's really exciting. The addition of vector databases to support, retrieval augmented generation type use cases for LLM and AI models is super interesting as well too. So there's just a ton going on in our space. So I can't wait to see, fast forward a few years from now, and seeing how all this technology comes together and all the incredible things that, our customers are going to be able to do with it.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and we have been going to a few events over the past few weeks, and actually AWS reInvent is this week, and I know several folks are talking about that hyper personalization aspect of things, and how to make sure you can process all of this information in real time and all of that information. So it's a really exciting time to be involved in the data space and see what kind of comes out of it. Um, in looking into the future, the landscape is all obviously always changing. How do you see it evolving over the next few years, and how is Snowplow preparing for that in particular?
Yeah, well, it's already evolving, and we're already starting to see some big things and some big changes. The really the last 20 some odd years has been the era of the cloud and software as a service as we know it, and it's been great. We've all had access to software, and we've done some amazing things with it. One of the things that I'm most excited about, because it's another disruption, it's another tectonic shift, is this move from software as a service to service as a software. And really what service as a software is about is the the automation or some of the removal of the human with the software. And we're starting to already see this. Companies like Salesforce, and others have have talked about this. And what's ironic, I mean, Salesforce was the company that created, the category software as a service, and everyone thought they were crazy when they're doing it. But what's ironic is they're also the company that they're disrupting themselves and saying, no, there's a new model coming. And this new way of utilizing software where some of the human reasoning is removed and the software is doing some of the automation and the reasoning. If you really think about what is needed there for this new software generation to be successful, it's data. And it's more data. And it's more real time. It's more conceptual and contextual. And so I look at that as a massive opportunity for companies like Snowplow. And this is what really gets me excited, because we have an opportunity to fuel the next generation of the software, and how companies are going to utilize software and how it's going to change the experience for all of us. So that's something, again, where, I go back into my memory bank and I said, I think I've seen this trend before, right? We went from client server to web architecture to mobile architectures, and now AI. And this is a great example of a trend that I have high confidence is going to come to fruition pretty quickly here. And how companies like Snowplow are going to play a pivotal role into bringing that to life.
I'm so excited for that. And, as companies are starting to look to scale and bring AI within their organizations as well, data is going to play a pivotal role in that, making sure that they have high quality, data to power all of these different use cases that they're doing. So really excited to see that and where that goes. I'll end on this one last question. As people are listening into this, there are folks out there that are product leaders, and they're looking, they're aspiring, and they're looking to make the right decisions and really make sure that they're, following in the footsteps of the trends and things that are going on. What are some things that you might provide them in terms of advice, to grow in their roles and continue, trying to stay up with that and really progress?
Yeah, well, product people are in unique positions within companies, and given that unique position, they often have lots of opportunities to explore and to do new things and interesting things within the realm of product. So I always tell aspiring product managers is to take advantage of those opportunities. Don't be afraid to venture out of your comfort level and take on things that sometimes may feel like it's outside your scope of product management and somebody else should be doing, but use that as an opportunity to take that on and to expand your skill set and roles. I also encourage people to get out of their seats in their offices and go spend time with customers, right? And to my first point about start your morning coffee with a customer,
Right.
with a customer call or a viewing. You got to. You really need to put yourself into the role of the customer and the problems that they're trying to solve through your technology. So that's super important. Listen. Listen to people. Sometimes the quietest people in the room are the smartest, and they're the ones who are taking everything in. They go off and then they form their hypotheses and their thinking. So take time to listen. Know how to ask the right questions to kind of weed out their struggles and their pain points, and that's super interesting. So yeah, those are kind of the basics.
Well, thank you so much, Todd. I appreciate it, and I know we're almost out of time here. So, thank you for being here with us today. And we're really excited to see, the types of decisions that you're making for Snowplow and where Snowplow goes. That being said, we did have one question actually that came through is, listening, right? Listening. How can the community get involved? They're asking, where do they submit some of that feedback, and
Yeah.
maybe they can connect with you as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's what that QR code is right up on the screen
Yeah.
there. That's directly, I'd love to hear from you all. But yeah, connect with us on LinkedIn, Snowplow. Any, I think on even our website has some means to connect with us. But don't be shy. Reach out. We'd love to hear from you. And ultimately, we listen. And if we can solve problems that work for our business, that's what we'd love to do. So
Awesome. And
yeah.
I have one more question that came in, and is about AI. Asking, what role do you see AI playing with Snowplow in the future?
Yeah. Oh, it's tremendous. It's huge. So AI can do lots of things. And in fact, we have many customers that are already using AI with the data that they're ingesting and processing and landing with Snowplow. Um, but AI has incredible power. I mentioned like the multimodal data, for instance, to process that and to pull out interesting things, turn unstructured data into structured data. It certainly has the power. I talked about this service as a software. Um, that's what we call the agentic future, or these agents that are actually talking to one another and performing tasks in the background, or booking flights for people, and things like that. So we want to make our data very accessible to these machine learning and AI models that are really going to be generating and driving the next generation of applications. So it's tremendous, and it all starts with, like I said, all different types of data, and high quality data. So right, it's really important that these AI models are consuming high quality data, so good quality and good decisions coming out on the back end. And again, that's right in our wheelhouse, and we will continue to deliver on features around data quality, data governance, um, and and all of the above to really drive the next generation of AI applications.
That's great. Well, thank you, Todd, for answering those questions, and thank you everybody for listening in. Um, for future events that we're going to be involved in, feel free to take a look at this QR code. We do have a few webinars coming up that we would love for your attendance at. One in particular coming up on data governance. We look forward to seeing you. Once again, thank you so much, Todd, for talking with us today, and we look forward to seeing what happens with the future.